Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hater plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding niggas out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, my nigga, I'm feeling great. Got a date with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a fuck what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't, it can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In a yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the oh well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
What is up, gamers? How are we doing? Welcome back to another Titan Conqueror stream this fine Wednesday evening, afternoon, whatever your time zone is. My name is Swifty, with a little switch up tonight, joined here on the caster desk by our friend Turk, the first time here on the caster desk for Titan Conqueror. Turk, would you like to introduce yourself really quick?
Okay, so you already know my name. My name is Turk. So I've been playing since season 2, which is getting pretty old. I think that's kind of showing my age. But played a lot of competitive, done a lot of coaching, done a lot of stuff like that. So I've been in the scene for quite a while. So it's a pleasure to be able to do a lot of this too, because I've done some casting in my days. Casted for about 3 years now. Wouldn't say I'm the best. Wouldn't say I'm horrible. I'm somewhere in the middle. Just an average kind of guy. So we'll take that for now. And it's kind of nice because I really am the
me.
yeah, that's great. I really am the water boy for tonight. I got the big call up to the big leagues here, so it's a pleasure to be able to be here and with Swifty too, who is primarily a color caster. So I have now taken his role. He's going to be play-by-playing. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, and I'm sure you all are too.
For sure, this is going to be an interesting one. Wonderful pleasure to have you here. It's a nice thing to hear this call, the big leagues with Titan. We're hoping for you guys viewing tonight that we're going to have a really fun game, a really fun series. Both of these teams are looking for wins moving into this Week 5 matchup. We have Conspiracy Esports versus Iceborn White. For viewers who haven't been following along this season of Conqueror, Iceborn White is currently sitting tied for first, I think second seeding-wise, with a match record of 3-1 to Conspiracy Esports 2-2, sitting at around 5th place or tied at thereabouts. So both teams have a lot of, I think, grit in this series tonight. Iceborn is looking to make a statement, I think, Turk, if you'd agree, that any game wins at this point on, as a team looking like they're going to be heading into playoffs with a good seed. Any seeding is better than, first seed is always going to be better than second seed, which is always going to be better than third seed. And if you're Conspiracy, you're a team that it needs to pick up wins. Every win matters if you're 2-2 heading into Week 5 with only, I think, 2 more weeks after this week remaining.
So. Yeah, that's what it's looking like for sure. And obviously wins for both of these sides are really important. As you mentioned, there's only 2 weeks left here in the season after this series, of course. So really what that means, Iceborn White, that's going to look a heck of a lot better if you're 4-1 as opposed to being 3-2. But more importantly for Conspiracy Esports, if you want to be able to keep your contentions alive here, it's very important that you pull off this win tonight. And if not this week, you most certainly got to be doing it by next. So at the very least, we'd like to be able to see them kind of adapt throughout the series. But I have a lot of faith in both of these teams here. Even doing a little bit of research on my end, I find it pretty interesting to see what's going to be happening here. Koopa and OTF, they like to flex that Corki quite a bit. The Corki I've seen kind of fall off more in the favor of like the pro side of things, but that doesn't mean anything by any means. So the Corki's still a very strong champion, really going to do a lot of team comps too. So I'm curious to see what both of these teams are going to decide to do when it comes to the draft. And of course, in a best of 3, you have that wiggle room to kind of be able to change things up and adapt. And of course, this isn't Fearless too, which makes things quite a bit interesting on the ban side, because usually what I notice with Fearless is the bans stay the same, but the champs all switch up. So I'm kind of curious to see how the bans adapt here from game 1 to 2 and hopefully game 3. So should be interesting, Swifty.
Yep, hopefully game 3. To me, it looks like it probably can go to a game 3. Both of these teams seem like serious playoff contenders. We have one team already sitting relatively comfortable, looking at like they're going to be searching for that high-seeded playoff spot tonight, Iceborn White. Looking at draft, obviously this is one of our few non-Fearless leagues as we're moving directly into draft. So we're going to see what power picks both teams are sort of prioritizing in this first draft. It's typically sort of a tone setter, game 1's draft. So immediately we see a Skarner ban for the side of Iceborn White. It's a really common ban. Very, very strong jungle pick. It's B1able, in my opinion, for a lot of teams. Interesting to see it banned on blue side. What do you think, Turk?
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. Skarner's been really strong throughout this whole season, has received countless nerfs, 2 or 3, if not maybe more at this point right now, so I'm not too surprised to see it. On blue side, a little more interesting, kind of throws up a couple red flags. We do have to note very quickly, CE has lost 2 bans here in this game 1 because of an emergency E-sub, so that is something to take note of. Of course, that's going to be Dex on their side, so we'll see how well he's able to adapt as we move into the series. But yeah, it's a good point too, and we're getting through these bans quite quickly, but Skarner has been a pretty solid B1. From what I've noticed as of recent, it seems like a lot of ADCs have risen a lot in priority, so I wonder if the Jinx is going to become something that's on the table. The Lulu ban to me says maybe not so much, but we'll have to see exactly how both of these teams want to go about things. Of course, if you are on the side of CE, only having that one ban, you really need to make sure that ban counts, and they're going to elect to choose Jace and Aurora. It's going to be
Aurora first pick. I think this is an absolutely fantastic first pick. I think you see it a lot in high levels of play, professional play too.
For sure.
It has a game warping ultimate. Can you can play with it from behind even or ahead and really set the pace of a fight, completely turn a fight on its head with that ultimate. And the response here is Syndra. Turk, by the way, I don't know if I had asked you, are you a mid laner? Are you a top laner? What do you have a specific role you like to play? Flex player?
I'm a dirty support player.
You're a dirty support player. All right. Well, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know as a jungler. It's good to have diversified opinions on cast.
We got the synergy going on.
We do.
Yeah.
The shot callers.
Yeah, the jungle supports synergy, so that's great. Okay, so we're gonna see the Syndra answer. That's right, the Syndra answer going to be going into the Aurora, which we assume is more than likely mid. Small chance that they flex that towards top, but we do see that Jinx priority come in, the answer being the Viego and the Ezreal. Ezreal does quite well into Jinx, especially as the game progresses. Obviously being able to keep out of range of that Jinx, deny those lethal tempo stacks, that's kind of the idea behind that. But the spike is there nevertheless, so Viego, that to me screams a reset comp, and we are going to see more of the protect the puppy style right now. So I'm curious to see what CE decides to do on phase 2 here. Probably, I'm really hoping they draft some tanky frontline here. I think they really need that for the two mobile carries that they've drafted. So bans going quite quick, as is a draft.
Yep, we're going to see Gangplank come out, which is an interesting ban. Like you said, I would have to agree that I think some sort of tanky frontline is necessary, probably for both of these teams here.
Sure.
This looks like relatively high damage. For the side of CE, it's almost turning out to be a Protect the Jinx comp when you see, an Ivern come out. But then again, Cinder has excellent burst damage, particularly on 2, 3 items, 4 items once Void Staff is hit. So curious to see what we have here. I can only imagine that the 4th pick on the red side is going to be support, with an understanding that the Ezreal is out and that we already have Jinx. And it is a Tahm Kench, which technically
Really?
is
Wow.
next pick. This could go support. I anticipate it to go support.
So do I.
What do you think about that lane, Tahm Kench Jinx?
I don't think it's too bad at all, especially if you're going to index into the plant protect the puppy style. However, I was going to say it does leave you vulnerable to a few picks. Blitzcrank was one that came to mind. Braum was another one. Braum might not work as good, but does well into Syndra in this instance. Or another option could have been Rel, but if you're going to lock the Blitz, that to me makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's 3 mobile carries that you see, well, not carries necessarily, but including the Iverns. So something to pay real attention to. That Blitzcrank, as always, quite literally hit or miss. So are you able to land those hooks? If you are, that's great, but more importantly, can you land those hooks when it really matters? So that's what we're going to have to see right there. The Gragas comes out. That's a really solid weak side top laner. So of course that answers where that Aurora is going to be going. So right now already we can see that is going to be an ASOL mid too, actually. No, okay, that is Aurora. Okay,
It is Aurora.
Just making
Yes.
sure. Okay, just
Have
making
it
sure.
confirmed. That would be
threw
a
me for-
wonderful switch, just to keep us on our toes.
Yeah, threw me for
know.
a loop there for a second. Okay, so it is going to be the Aurora. There it is right there. We can see the change coming through it. And both team comps to me look quite solid, I must say. You could take a look at Ice's team comp, and that to me looks very much like a reset style of team comp. Obviously, leave your Gragas on the weak side just to farm in their own island. That's a-okay. Absorb any pressure that gets applied. Ideally, the Aatrox can start to actually kind of accrue a bit of a CS lead. It's pretty hard to be able to dive or to chunk out a Gragas with all the sustain that he has. So what we can see right there is pretty interesting for both comps as we do roll in.
As we roll into game, excited to see how this one turns out. I'm curious that the side of CE, if I'm not mistaken, on the red side, yes, CE, not ICE.
Yep. Yeah, true.
They're sort of air quotes strict frontline member is this Tahm Kench, and I'm sure, as you know, support income by nature of the fact that you do not CS is a little bit lower. It seems to me they're relying a lot on spacing, and they're relying on sort of the disengaged tools. I think that they do have with the Ivern Q, the Ivern shielding, knockback, right? Tahm Kench eat. It seems to me a little bit more of a high execution sort of air quotes protect the Jinx comp. But curious to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, well, I tend to agree with a lot of what you're saying. As we kind of move into like what you can see, we are so spoiled as casters, aren't we? I mean, take a look at what we get here.
Yeah.
Is this not? This is pretty nice.
Beautiful.
I must say. I must say this is pretty nice. Here we get that split screen view, and of course you could see those wards coming in through that top side. Lots of pings going down there too. It actually makes me wonder if we're going to see some sort of a split map. It looks like we might actually, as we do see Viego kind of hovering in between, kind of wondering what they're going to end up doing with that, but most certainly they want to keep an eye on this Ivern. Ivern pathing is very, very much unpredictable, so it's quite tricky to be able to keep up with. That's why you can see the emphasis on those top side wards, but we do see the Viego starting top, more than likely pathing towards that bot side, trying to focus on that Ezreal and Blitz, get them ahead, and you can kind of see the lines being drawn in the sand as we do see a nice trade coming in here.
Yeah, I really love the point you bring up about the Ivern. As a jungler myself, I frequently find myself incredibly frustrated trying to track an Ivern. I really like the priority on early and widespread vision. Like you said, the top side was warded very, very effectively, right? The Iceborn moves together to get that deep vision, those two wards, to help, I think, Hama and Karn a little bit help him have a little bit of an easier time on this Viego in that tracking matchup. It can be very easy to quickly lose your place, as a little bit of damage and trading is coming out here in OTF. It's going to walk away about half health from this one, but is pushing the lane.
And you can see that Syndra pick getting a little bit of value already. Obviously, it's pretty early into the game, but having that range advantage on that Syndra does feel quite nice. However, you don't want to step up too close, especially with those electrocute procs and the buffs that have came through with that ability. So we'll keep notes on that mid, but you can already see both of those pots have been burned from those mid laners. So a lot of attention should be applied there by both junglers.
Absolutely, and it's a great point you bring up the electrocute. I've noticed I've been running a lot of electrocute Zyra jungle for the reason that it seems very, very strong. I think it can deal like 71 damage depending on what champion you are, obviously, in level 1, which is a lot of damage out. Syndra has opted to go for the first strike, which is, you know, a little bit more of a utility, brings you a little bit more gold. So obviously, I think the output damage immediately for the Syndra into the Aurora matchup is going to be slightly lower. I'm curious to see how that affects the lane here. But we're going to see just the typical standard, little bit of farming bot lane. No one wants to do anything crazy. As we might see a fight, a little bit of trading here has come out. The knockup and the final Q comes out from Aatrox as a whiffed stun and root is going to come out from the Ivern. Gragas is going to be able to walk out of that one clean, as we are going to see a recall, and most likely I can only assume a teleport out of the Gragas. Still a 0-0 game, Turk.
Yeah, good little dodge there. Of course, you do save that flash, and more than likely you're going to be safe in that instance, but having to burn it absolutely sucks. The good news for you on that Gragas, as you mentioned previous, is you do have that teleport. You're not going to miss too many minions, if any at all, in that instance right there. And Lucid heads up towards top side. Now you can see him swinging through mid, but OTF wisely so. You can see him hovering towards the bottom side of this mid lane, and this is extremely smart. Of course, having that Ivern spotted does need to be a little careful here.
Little careful, as the root is going to land and the stun is going to land, but it looks like Ivern is called off the gank a little bit early. The invisibility from the Aurora seems to, I think, dissuade Ivern from actually following up the rest of that gank. The CC lands, but Aurora is able to get out free here. It's one of the powers of Aurora, in my opinion. Just the ability to quickly reposition and hide that information from your opponents, I think is key. It's part of the reasons that the kit on that champion is very, very strong. As we might see a pull come out here, but Blitzcrank is just going to hang in the bush for now, Turk.
Yeah, he's going to fish. Of course, he is going to be spotted on that ward. Not sure if he's aware that there's a ward in that bush, but wisely, I think it's a very good decision there coming through. And yeah, just a lot of jockeying for pressure towards this bot side. Don't believe any hooks have landed with the HP that you can see. Of course, pots are still available for pretty much all of the members, minus that Blitzcrank and that bot side. Good trade coming in from Gunman up top.
Really good trade coming in from Gunman. I'm curious to see if this wave's going to be pushed or if there's any... There isn't really a dive angle with Ivern pathing on the bottom side of the map, but really excellent trading there. Is able to land all 3 of those Q procs with the heavy damage. Now, obviously, Gragas is very good at healing things back up, right? A lot of sustain in lane by nature of that passive. But Aatrox is going to take the opportunity with the push wave to get a little bit of information for Lucid's Ivern. A little bit easier tracking. We understand now that the Viego is clearing towards the bot side, looking for this dragon, as Ivern is moving up to the top. But again, as we have said about Ivern before, the clear is almost in reverse, as Ivern has to set up the camps and then take them. So it looks like both junglers are heading towards the dragon for a possible dragon play here. We are looking at mid-prio, it seems to me, for red side for Conspiracy, as we are moving into this at the same time. I'm curious to see, do you think we're going to see a dragon fight, or do you think we're going to see trades, Turk?
Based off the posturing, it looks like we might actually here. Of course, you can see Ivern kind of moving towards the river itself, but really neutral vision there coming in from the side of red. Nothing too crazy in that regard. Of course, Viego just netting up his Krugs in the process. So we do actually see Lucid kind of pivoting away from this dragon, unaware of whether or not they know that Viego's there. Probably from that word earlier from Gunman. They probably do, so I think this is a pretty wise decision here. Of course, you see some more pings coming down on those grubs right now. They're Swifties, so this actually might be a bit of a contention. We might see a cross map, but of course, we do see Viego taking that reset. Nice Q coming through, the trade back with the body slam.
Is the E used critically. I think it is pinged as the root's going to come out, but the sidestep happens again from Stuck Daro. Aatrox is going to throw the ultimate. As the Gragas ultimate comes out, the bomba lands, but too much damage is coming out of the Aatrox. Flash Q, and the final damage gets Gunman the first kill of the game on Stuckdaro's Gragas. Really good call there, in my opinion. They called out the Gragas E and then capitalized immediately, Turk.
Yeah, those small timers there are just so nice to be able to pick up here, as we do see our first replay of the series
First
here.
replay.
As he's moving away, he's trying to get away here. This is a beautiful shield coming through here too. Of course, it's going to proc that slow for the first time. As we see this trade comes through, we do see the Aatrox are nice cast coming in, but of course that body slam is going to be interrupted here. And this is where we're going to see a beautiful flash come through, and of course the Ivern second shield's going to pop right there, net the kill. With that reset, you're able to get out of dodge and get your reset in, and that just gets Gunman that much more ahead. Flash for flash.
Ooh, flash for flash. Love to see it. Blowing a immobile mage's flash, always worth it if you're that blitzcrank, in my opinion. Looks like Ice, in response off the resets of Ivern and Aatrox, is going to opt for the grub. So not a net, loss of a trade. Not necessarily a neutral even trade, an objective for a first blood kill. What do you find more value out of there? The return grubs take, or the fact that we now have first blood up on the board, especially with feats being a sort of thing to consider?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it depends on the team comp itself that you've drafted. Now, I would almost argue that grubs are more valuable for the side of CE, especially with something like that Jinx and that Syndra. The Syndra doesn't have as much siege pressure, but having the threat of the Syndra with the range allows that Jinx to get those autos onto the turret. So no real split pushing threat other than maybe the Aatrox you can make one argument for, but I think the grubs probably go better on the side of CE. They probably want to be able to get that, as we do see that stun, but OTF wisely so, just backing off.
Yeah, the Aurora invisibility again. The root doesn't hit through the invisibility there, as we saw it before. As Aurora's posturing so aggressively, really wants to sort of assert their dominance in this lane. OTF's Aurora. We're gonna casually watch our tree waltz through the trees.
It's a beautiful tree.
It is. I was about to say that.
There's that synergy.
There it is. Yeah. I'm really, just to bring it back to OTF. I'm really impressed actually by the play on this Aurora. It's why I think it's a pick ban. I think when piloted properly and someone is comfortable on it, it is a very potent pick. I really like the ability to get and maintain prio, as well as have an easy out without jungle interference when an Ivern shows up. Right. There is a fair amount of CC coming out of a Syndra and an Ivern when you are a mid laner, right, a mid lane mage. But the fact that she has that invisibility and the W to sort of retreat and reposition very effectively is just so effective, and we're seeing that coming into play here.
Oh, for sure we are. And of course, you still have that flash. You haven't had to burn that yet, so that's always nice to have. And when in doubt, you also have that ultimate where you can blink from one side to the other. So yeah, definitely a lot of space to be able to gain or retreat if need be. And nice trade coming in from Fields once again. You can see just chip by chip, Swift, little by little.
Little by little, taking this Aurora down to about half health, who is going to want to pick up these minions right under tower here. The Aurora obviously has great positioning into a Syndra, who has longer CDs, obviously, at the beginning of the game. But then again, the range, I know you brought this up at the beginning of the game. The Syndra range is really good into Aurora, as more damage is coming out, and they're sort of posturing as if they might want to take this 1v1 on each other. But Viego is rounding the corner. We'll see what happens, as Aurora might be catching a whiff of what's going on. Be careful of that wall, Feels. Word comes through. The ultimate from Aurora comes through, but the stun on the Syndra from the Viego is followed up by the teleport across that realm ability for the kill. Really well played by the side of Ice, as we're getting a lot more damage on Gragas up top. This poor Gragas and his beer cask, because we're going to go into a replay here and watch this mid lane little engage again. Take it away, Turk.
And this is all set up by that pink right here. Now we're going to see the sweeper being popped. So of course that's going to give the outline of that super beautiful toggle there from the observer. OTF, as he gets stunned right here, you're going to notice this little pop back. There he goes. Before you know it, he's right in the way. Feels isn't, unfortunately for him, able to pick up that kill, but crucially Haman is. So being able to net, that's fantastic. That's exactly what you want to be able to see, and that's really all set up from Vision.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you there. I really like the sort of micro understanding of how that 2v1 should operate. Seeing that Haman Karn's ult is coming out on the Viego, following it up with the teleport across that area of effect. They slam both ultimate damages at the same time. The execute damage is huge, but a stun is almost coming out on Karn, but it is not going to. But now Syndra's the one playing aggressive, as we're going to see an ultimate come out and take out Haman Karn, but now Feels is in a little bit of danger, but has the backup. Tom Kench and Ivern are in the area, but Dragon is being taken. That is a jungler down and 3 on the Dragon for the side of Conspiracy, as now Conspiracy's taken back a little ground that they lost there in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is nice to see. Of course, being able to net that kill on feels really good. So
Feels
locking
good.
that in
Had to
feels
do
good.
it.
Feels
I
good.
was
Feels good,
waiting
man.
for it.
Feels good, man.
It feels
Net
good,
that up
man.
is great. That's a nice solo kill too. At the end of the day, you're able to pick that up, so that kind of answers a bit of that. But more importantly, you also get the neutral on top of that. And I don't think we actually touched on this, but one Void Grub was taken for the side of CE too. So of course it's not that thrace. We do see Gunman.
Oh,
What,
wow. As we see
dude?
Gunman with no time to play-by-play cast it. That is so much damage. The Eclipse is already built into this tier, and what is that, a Kindle Gem and a Fiendish Codex Gragas, who at this point is behind enough that I guess Aatrox can actually get the auto, I believe that's the passive proc, if I'm not mistaken, the passive auto proc. As we're going to go into a replay on this one, and we'll just see exactly how this trade operates. But the ultimate is immediately going to come out, but the E is stopped. Wow, the 1v1 is just too strong on this Aatrox. I think the early pressure put Gunman ahead enough, and that's the result that we're seeing.
Yeah, when you miss that explosive cask, of course, that's going to be a lot of the
Mhm.
damage in the kit. Whether you want to take that fight to begin with, probably not a good idea. Of course, with that first item being
Sure.
completed with Gunman, it's just going to accelerate him that much more at this point. But I think crucially, I don't actually think that Stuck thought he was going to die there. That last auto damage was pretty absurd to me. It looked like looked like a bit too much, but frankly, I think that caught him off guard just as much as it did myself. So wisely so,
Absolutely.
nevertheless, for Gunman, he's able to pick up that extra kill. So now he's sitting at 2-1-0. Syndra's looking good at 1-1. Even CS, of course, with OTF, but not much attention really being put on this bot side yet, Swifty, as much as what I think you and I both were wondering about.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have a Tom Kench who has the Abyssal Voyage to engage very, very well. We have obviously a hooked support champion in Blitzcrank. You almost sort of innately expect some spicy plays and some crazy engages, but both teams playing it very respectfully. Obviously, Jinx is a champion who moving into mid-game skirmishes, as we might actually get a little bit of a skirmish in the mid lane here. Some abilities being thrown around. The ultimate is going to come out for both Syndra and Aurora, and now Aurora is too low to
No.
keep blowing up, and the damage is barely going to do it. The Blackfire Torch burn damage is enough to take the Aurora out. A little bit of a misread for the side of OTF.
And I wondered if OTF was going to be able to get away with that. He elected to hold his flash for so long, and it looked so good, but unfortunately, you're going to get picked off there. And as you pointed out, it is going to be that Blackfire Torch that secures it with the auto attack from Fields. So now we see both carries even getting that much more accelerated here, and it looks like Lucid on this Ivern is doing exactly what he needs to do. Of course, you see that redemption being completed. Another big thing with Ivern, too, that a lot of the times you might forget is that the actual core item build path is very, very cheap. So you can get accelerated very quickly as long as your carries are doing well, which again, not much attention has been applied on bot, but crucially Jinx is not falling behind. Actually, it's the inverse. We actually see a CS lead coming in from that Jinx. So CE right now are looking poised to be able to control this early to mid to maybe even later stage of the game because they scale pretty well too.
Absolutely, got to agree. And the point before this mid lane fight broke out being made was that the Jinx is sort of a champion that really hits their stride in resets, in fights, right? Full on 5v5s. You want to buy time for your Jinx to get a reset, and then the DPS significantly increases with the Get Excited passive. But curiously enough, you'd almost expect maybe that Haman Karn on Viego would play towards the bot side and try and mitigate the timing that Jinx has before she catches up to an Ezreal, who typically has a very, very easy time CSing in the lanes, right? That Q is so effective at picking up CS. But obviously, the bot lane for the side of Conspiracy is just playing it really well in the straight 2v2. They are winning this 2v2. And now with the pressure that Lucid's Ivern has been able to apply to the mid lane so effectively, I think really has, like you said, poised them for a sort of driver's seat position in this game, as Lucid is playing very upfront. It is a 2v4 matchup, and Aurora's going to get caught up by the Sun, and the Abyssal Void is going to come out. The ultimate is not going to do it. You are dead in the water, OTF. It is an unfortunate moment, as now we are seeing them put their foot on the pedal, Turk.
It definitely looks like it here. Ice just unfortunately not able to respond to what I consider a really good rotation there coming in from CE's bot side. Of course, they're going to send two of those members, and really crucially, the real play right here was going to be on for this tier 1. If you get that kill on top of it, it's just that much more. Of course, you also have that exit Rift Herald to be able to play for too, so really good macro decision coming in here. There's no doubt. OTF, he does have the teleport, so the opportunity contest is most certainly going to happen as we see that TP being channeled right now, but no real pressure being applied to take this Rift Herald. Both teams kind of just jogging around, trying to get as much vision control as what they can, but yeah, you can see nobody really looking to contest that river right now, and I like to see this too. A lot of the times when you get to this stage of the game, 15 minutes plus, it's much better for you to take one play, get that win, and then get your reset in, right? You just got all the gold from that first brick. That's awesome. Now you can spend that gold, get it funneled that much more into the carries and the members who need it, get back on the map when you're strong, and then contest the next objective, which I thought was going to be Rift. I think wisely so they choose to reset, and now they're pathing towards bot.
I agreed. I got to agree with you there. The dragon was spawning, and notably, feats of strength have been taken by the side of Conspiracy Esports. First 3 kills as well as the first tower. I think that sort of alleviates a little bit of the pressure of feeling like you have to engage in a Rift fight, right? Notably, Void Grubs were picked up twice, all 6 grubs for Iceborn. So 3 objective takes, grub into Rift, as you know, just having Rift and 6 grubs frequently means that your team is going to be able to take the tower, the first tower of the game. But the amount of pressure and dominance that the Aatrox has up in the top lane on this Gragas means that it's actually Conspiracy regardless. As speaking of which, Gunman's going to get engaged on. The hook's going to miss. The E from Aatrox is going to be able to dodge the Ezreal ultimate. Gunman's going to get out scot-free. I say scot-free, more like half health, but you'll take that every day of the week when that is a 3-for-1. As a re-engaged stun is coming out, the knockup follows up. The Syndra ultimate takes down Quantum's Blitzcrank. They're biting off a little bit more than they can chew in these plays, just like you said. They look for one thing, and they sort of try to bite off another piece of that pie, and it bites them in the butt.
Yeah, you know what? I like the initial look there. You're a little behind in tempo right now, about 4K. We see the channel coming through from Viego. Nothing's really going to melt from that, but you're down at gold. You look to overload a side lane. That makes sense to me. You burn the flash. That's great, but then we overstay just a little bit, and of course, you might not expect the Syndra OTF.
Oh, and they're now responding. We had a little hiccup, but the ultimate is going to be way too much. Both ultimates are coming out from Viego and Aurora. Syndra has nowhere to go. Is critically slowed up, hitting the edge of that. As a Viego stun is going to be thrown out, but not the kind you normally see. A good response kill. Viego sort of had to waffle there for a little bit for that kill. Lucky enough is able to pick up something off of it. The last thing you want as a jungler, particularly when you're behind, is to give up more tempo than you've already sort of lost. But Hamon Karn and OTF, as we've seen before, have played these ganks very, very, very well. They're comboing their damage excellently, the Aurora ultimate as well as the Viego ultimate. So they're able to pick something up on the backside of what is a little bit of a mishap play in the topside Turk.
Yeah, and they capitalize really well. Not only do they execute, but they also time it very, very, very good. So Fields didn't have his flash up. Of course, now you see that it is, but there's probably about 10 to 15 seconds before that actual cooldown was available. So crucially, they just find the right timing and they pull it off with the right execution, really at the right time. So kudos to them to be able to pick that up, and they definitely need to be able to start finding more of those plays here, as we do see. A little bit of jockeying once again towards his top side. Stun.
The stun is going to land. The Abyssal Voyage is going to follow it up. It's going to knock up the Viego. We see Daisy pounding on the backside, but Lucid's taken very, very low by the Aurora. The spin out of Hamon Karn is going to happen, but now it's support and a jungler for opposite sides that are going to get taken out. They are traded for each other on opposite sides of the fight. Both teams are going to walk out without any more losses, it seems, for now. Almost a little bit unfortunate for Conspiracy being ahead that you do lose the one champion 4-1. However, critically, Viego is lost for the side of Iceborn, and this means Rift is going to be taken for the side of Conspiracy Esports.
It's definitely going to be started. We do see the teleport here, though. They're indexing. Ice does not want to give this up without a fight.
Ice doesn't. They're going to posture here. Daisy's whacking away. A TP coming directly down on, I believe that might have been Daisy, but Daisy moves, so the position stays. This Gunman's now going very, very forward in this fight. He's taken to about half health, but the pull critically lands on the Jinx. That is the wrong target for them to have hit. Oh my god, the Aurora damage. But now, Aurora's on the wrong side of the fight, and Aurora's going to get taken out. I think the wallets are just too big for the side of Conspiracy at this point. The stun is going to get followed up on Darter Wolf. Are we going to see more kills come through for the Aatrox resets? We are. The Blitzcrank goes down. Hamon Karn channeling a stun. Not the right move now, buddy, as you're going to have to walk out of that 3-4-0.
God, it's so difficult now at this point, isn't it? 100% here. And as you can see, this really becomes a question, right? Do you want to burn your TP in response? And the answer is going to be yes. As we see this TP channeled here, I almost wonder if Quantum had a window to actually hook this Aatrox, because you're going to see the Aatrox, he's going to start to walk up. A beautiful toggle here once again, as we can see on that vision. Right here, I wondered if Gunman could have been hooked, but inevitably he is not going to be. And we see right here, just fishing and jockeying around this choke. A beautiful hook from Quantum on the Jinx. A nice body slam to follow it up. And there's quite a bit of upfront burst. But here's where you falter. Because if you don't get these kills with that upfront burst, you're going to get cleaned up. And OTF, he tries to get away, but unfortunately that blank is just going to put him exactly where he doesn't want to be. And as we mentioned before, this reset comp, once you get 1 kill, you're probably going to get 2, then you're probably going to get 3, and that's exactly what happens here. And when you're so far behind in tempo, this is a problem that you run into. When you try to contest the enemy team and they've already got an objective set up, if you lose that fight top, you're also going to give up tempo and priority on that bot side, and that's what we've seen, as we see maybe. Oh,
The hook doesn't quite
okay.
land, but the stun will. But Hamikard's now going to have to get walked off, as you've got Niver and Tom Kench with the Jinx backup walking at your face. They're going to summon the Daisy. The ultimate's coming out. The Abyssal Voyage is going to land. The Super Mega Death Rocket falling up for the kill. We now have a Get Excited Jinx, but a great bomba to blow them away is going to lose the life. But, oh, they're still going. The Abyssal Voyage is going to follow up on the Blitzcrank, who's going to go down. They are still going. They're looking for every kill on the map. They're putting their foot down on the pedal. Gunman's Aatrox is just too big. They have to back off of this. They're going to lose the mid tower for it. Almost a beautiful bomba out of the Gragas to sort of disengage that fight, but I think there is just too much damage, and the Jinx Get Excited resets just allow more damage to come up from halfway across the lane. We're going to get a replay here. Take it away for us, Turk.
Now we can see here just a slow chase starts, and as soon as that hook misses, that's where things become really tricky. And of course, at this point too, you're probably about 7-8k down. And of course, the slow chase OTF's going to be caught out once again. That's a beautiful knock up there coming in from TK, and we see it once again here. We're going to see these resets being applied here. The Jinx is able to get all this damage. As you mentioned, a beautiful explosive cast where that Iron Root hits and everybody just snaps right back. And as soon as this happens now, of course, it's 2 members down. Beautiful tongue lash once again, and just a slow chase. It's so difficult to deal with this here, and we can see that double kill, which results in that turret.
Yeah, and now we're in a position where we are about 8k gold behind. It's 13-3, 3 dragons. Conspiracy is clearly in the driver's seat, not to mention that they have feats, which, to be fair, is more of a morale boost than it is a game-winning thing. But as Gunman's now up here on one side, but is able to properly predict the route and the drag, but the flashes are going to come out for both champions, the ultimate and the invisibility to disengage, but it might not be enough as this Aatrox has so much damage. The sun is coming through, followed up by the orb drop on the Syndra. That is a dead OTF, but we might be getting more fighting here on the top side as... maybe we're not, because the fighting is actually on Otacon. That was an objective.
This is the first time, Swifty, that we've seen Ice, from what I feel like we've seen, actually cross-map here and do it very well here. Of course, you see the mid-prow being established in that mid lane by that Ezreal, and of course that tier 1 bot side also going down. They're going to move in here, get some deep vision in the enemy's bot side quadrant. I like to see that a lot. At the very least, we're going to answer this time. We're going to get a couple objective bounties in the process, so this is good to see. Unfortunately, you're going to lose the Atacon, you're going to lose OTF in the process, but at the very least, you're getting yourself something.
Absolutely. You always want to be making trades where available. That's the avenue that you have to make comebacks in this game. Like we said, it was an 8k gold lead. This is actually now only a 5.5k gold lead, roughly. Excuse me, I did math wrong. Somebody help me out. I'm an engineer, and I literally can't even do math. What is that?
Still about 8, 8
oh,
and a half.
Still about 8. Okay, so they are able to actually, they lose a kill, but they're able to pick up objective bounties, right? They lose the Otacon. So they keep that gap the same. But, as gold grows for both teams, having an 8k gold lead, right, at 2 minutes when it is 2k to 10k is significantly worse than an 8k gold lead when it's 60k to 68k, if that sort of makes sense. So even though the absolute value is still the same, you sort of need to be making trades because you want to mitigate the total power differential between the teams here. CE, however, still comfortably sort of in the driver's seat, is maintaining vision and prio very, very well. They have so much damage on so many members at this point that they can sort of sit where they want. But we are going to get the Blitzcrank hook. Tom Kench, you're in a little bit of a weird spot. This is currently a 4-on-1, but backup from Iceborn is coming in the shield. We also have the gray health from the Tom Kench, and Syndra is enough to ward off the 4 members of Iceborn. Tom Kench is going to make it out this time.
Yeah, you can see just a little bit of an overstep there. Ultimately, you're not any real threat or any danger with all the shields that are available. What? No way!
Flash into the hook is immediately going to have to pop the Zodi's Hourglass. Tom Kench is getting in there to knock the team up to disengage for that Syndra. What a beautiful blind hook. An unfortunate flash for Syndra, as we're going to see a few abilities traded. The Ezreal ultimate, which is a very low cooldown thrown to sort of disengage. But, I mean, critically, Conspiracy does have priority on this dragon, has the vision set up, and might get this uncontested Turk. Dragon. Baron.
That's a
That's
mad look. That's a mad look from the Blitz there. I love to see that stuff. And that's kind of what you have to do. Of course, you are going to see the contest coming through here. Mid-prow is going to be established, but I don't know if they're going to have enough time here. I like to see what the Tom Kench is doing. You're forcing them off. And this Baron is just being absolutely shredded. The TP is going to come through. That's more of a deterrent than anything, though. And of course, you can see the Viego trying to fish from behind. Right now, though, we're going to see Quantum. Yeah,
Government
Quantum's in
Wanted
a
is already
lot
going
of
to hit
trouble.
that knock-up. The zap is going to come out from Jinx, but now Blitzcrank is slowed, and all of the CC is going to come out. But again, a
Oh,
beautiful cast, but it's not going to matter. The Jinx is now excited. That rocket extended range is enough to follow up and pick up the kill. We have, interestingly, Viego is doing Crux on the top side of the map. I'm sorry, I had to
what
comment on
else?
this.
What else can you do? You're
I
right, but what else can you
I think you
do?
back. I think you back and you try to you understand that this is a team that has incredible engage. Plus, Jinx has excited off of the Baron take, right? That is a lot of movement speed coming out. And they have very, very long engage. But the Aurora ultimate's going to come out, but she's immediately stunned up by the Syndra. Deters
Oh
any sort
no.
of engage off the take of this mid inhibitor turret. They're going to lose the inhibitor turret. They do have the Baron. However, Gunman is pushing the bot lane. We're going to see if Conspiracy is going to quickly rotate and get push on that, or if they're going to get their backs and set up for Dragon. Looks like they are taking the latter as an option here, Turk.
Looks like they're going to get all. They're going to get everything and more.
They
They're going to be able
probably
to net
will.
that. They're going to net that tier 3 in mid, which of course leaves that inhibitor wide open. They're going to net that tier 2 bot. That's a ton of extra gold being in the pocket of Gunman there, as we do see 3 items being completed on that Aatrox. That's scary. And of course now they're going to be contesting for this Dragon. So we'll see exactly what ends up happening. We see Fields right now with the lane assignments pathing towards that top. Crucially though, he does have the teleport, so he can answer if necessary. But Ice, you got to be so careful in a situation like this. I feel like one wrong misstep at this point almost spells certain doom, as a root does hit.
Root does hit, as well as a little bit of a lick out of the frog, the devil frog, but not going to be enough of a priority target, I think, with how many members of ICE are in the area. And Blitz is positioning very, very aggressively. The hook is going to come out, but there is just too much tankiness on the side of that Tom Kench, as we now have members dropping like flies. Haman Card, and that is Quantum Force going down. Darter Wolf now in that position. Gragas is stuck. Daro is going to be killed. The Bumba is too late. OTF is now running from a Tom Kench. The tongue,
No
the
way.
knockup comes out. Too much damage for Conspiracy. It is the wrong target to hook, unfortunately, for Quantum Force's Blitzcrank.
As we do see this replay now, and of course, right, you want to be able to find a pick with this Blitzcrank, but when you're on vision as much as what you are, this is a problem, right? And he fishes for losing. He almost finds like Quantum does, but look at how much damage they can absorb here. And crucially, Dex is just free hitting in his backline as 1 reset comes through. Of course, you know more kills are to follow here, and Stuck, while it looks like he might get away here for a second, nice explosive cast once again. Unfortunately, it's in vain. Hayasaka here is just moving. The Tongue Lash hits somehow. Pretty ridiculous range, but he's going to net that kill there. And of course, we do see in the PIP, in the bottom right of your screen as we transition back here, 2 inhibitors are going to be going down.
Yeah, they take that right into the remaining duration on their Baron buff, Turk, and they're gonna take both inhibs. They understand that top lane is the only one remaining. A little bit of a hook is gonna miss, and not gonna amount to much. I don't know if you want that hook necessarily.
That's a
Mr.
screw
Blitzcrank.
you. That's a screw you hook.
It is a screw you hook. It's a little bit of a DM hook. They're going to be taking outside jungle camps. They are looking to close this one out, as we are probably going to have to see some last-ditch hold from the side of Iceborn, as their windows of opportunity for plays that they are making of their own accord are sort of closing in here. We do have Blitzcrank pull, which is not going to amount to anything. The stun, the knockup, the Aatrox root and snare is going to hold that Blitzcrank in place. Going to be a dead robot.
And C now just needs to, well, they can do anything they want, but these waves are coming here, and Gunman as he moves in.
Oh, but the knockup is coming up from both the Tom Kench and the Aatrox. Too many knockups, too much damage. The resets are coming through. That is a dead Darter Wolf on one side. OTF is the only one alive. It's all she wrote. She's going back and forth in the ultimate, trying to buy time, trying to buy space, but cannot get it done. As we are going to see Conspiracy close this game out with a clean game 1, Turk.
This is about as good as it can be. I mean, look at that score line. If that isn't indicative of how the game ended up playing out, I don't know what is. And earlier on Ice, we were wondering, right, they had a couple options when they made plays for those grubs that looked quite good in that regard. But of course, Conspiracy Esports is going to be able to close this one out. And not only did they execute the team comp really well, I really got to hand it to them. I think when it came to the draft, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They prepped for it, got their priority on that Jinx, indexed into the Ivern, and then picked up the TK. And I was wondering how the TK would end up piloting. As I mentioned, there were definitely a few counters that could end up screwing over that champion, but nevertheless, didn't seem to be much of a problem at all for Hayasaka and the rest of the team. So as we do see those damage charts, you can take a quick look there.
Wow.
Aatrox is just an absolute beast, as is Syndra there, and I think kudos to them, but really everybody there. That was a really clean game, as you highlighted there, for sure, Swifty.
Excellently played by Conspiracy Esports. So much damage coming out of that.
Yeah.
top lane.
0. Aww.
0? What is
Zero
that?
total damage to
Total
turrets.
damage to turrets. It's
Oh,
funny with the amount of mid lane prio that OTF had early on with the Aurora that we don't actually see any damage to turrets. That has to be a bug. I almost don't believe it. But
I wonder too.
one thing I do want to note from that total damage, those statistics really quickly before we head into a break. Ivern doing the same amount of damage as a Viego typically, in a vacuum shouldn't happen. I think it speaks volumes to the Ivern that Lucid piloted this game. Obviously, I'm biased as a jungler, but to me, that was a little bit of a clinic that Lucid put on the Ivern pick. The amount of agency that was put out, the amount of peel, and just support. It's a support pick in the jungle that Ivern offers the team. I think is so crucial for this team surviving in fights, getting great positioning in fights. The re-engage off of that Gragas cask, the ultimate, it's huge. It's just so much utility, and the fact that it then puts out just as much damage as Viego, who is a hyper carry jungle pick, I think is incredibly impressive. But we are going to throw this to a quick break. Stay tuned with us as we're heading into game 2. Conspiracy Esports leads 1-0 on the night. We'll see how things shake up in game 2. We'll be right back.
Wait, pretty faces?
Welcome back, Titan viewers and our Twitch chat. Again, I am Swifty, joined for the first time tonight, entering Game 2 for the first time tonight, is Turk here on our color cast. I'll be giving us a play-by-play for anyone just joining us tonight for Game 2. Turk, give us the rundown. Where do things lie for our series tonight?
'Tis the question, my good man. What exactly happens now? We're going to see the lane swap, or not the lane swap, excuse me, the side swaps coming in here. So I'm very curious to see how this R5 is going to end up working out for them. Don't quite know, to be honest with you. Originally, we saw the B1 that came in last game. Jog my memory, Swifty. It was Aurora.
B1 was
Aurora.
for
So I
OT,
wonder.
yeah.
So I wonder if there's going to be any more priority on that. My guess is probably not, because it seemed like the Aurora was honestly swiftly dealt with there the last game. So I'm very curious to see
Swifty
exactly.
dealt with.
Okay, we got lots of puns today, don't
We
we?
do. It's a fun cast. Anyway,
Yeah.
keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, they make it. It's too easy. It's too easy. So I don't quite know. I know from game 1 looking at it that, to be honest with you, it seemed like a bit of a shellacking there. Like, Iceborn looked very strong. They came out of the gate like ready to rock and roll. Ended up the scoreline was 24-3 if I'm not mistaken, about 12k gold ahead, and it just seemed like the team comp that they drafted was, first off, really good. Second off, they execute it really well. And then third off, once you get ahead in the game, you almost just stat check. It's almost like you're something like Swain, where you can just walk up and no matter what, your front to back is just going to be stronger. And I think that's kind of what we saw in game 1. So game 2, yeah, what exactly happens there? Is a Jinx ban going to be coming through? That's maybe something I'm wondering.
I agree with your points there. I think they're fine points that you made. For anyone just tuning in, by the way, to our stream tonight, it is currently 1-0 Conspiracy Esports. We do have a sub in the ADC position for Conspiracy Esports. We sort of touched in the middle of draft in game 1 that we were losing 2 bans in the first phase for the side of Conspiracy, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's like Ice.
Oh.
It'll be Ice. That's right. Yes.
So Ice will have a, I guess, an emergency sub or a regular sub.
Yep.
Okay, this is a planned sub. We are getting confirmed. So that won't be ban losses for this. But we still have Dex Triad, who is I believe, an emergency sub for Conspiracy. So we will be seeing 2 subs come in and 1 side losing bans. Like you said, we are going to see a side swap. So obviously side selection swaps inevitably change up how draft operates and what it turns into. And like you said, we did see a bit of a shellacking. I'm going to steal your verbiage there, Turk. I think a little bit hard to play. I think both compositionally, and then on top of that, like you said, just from an execution standpoint, I think Conspiracy knew what they wanted to do, and then they did it. And they put their foot down to the pedal, and they really played tempo very, very well. One big thing for me that I'm very curious to see going into the second draft here for Game 2 is, what does Ice do in response to that Ivern? And maybe this is a thing I'll throw back to after my point here. To me, the MVP of that game was Ivern. I really, and obviously, I think the gunman stuck matchup, Aatrox into Gragas, was, I feel very one-sided, right? And I think it's easy to throw up the top gap in all chat when you see that sort of matchup play out like that. However, I think a lot of the tempo advantages, and particularly, I think Feels having an operable time on the Syndra in the mid lane was driven by Ivern. I think the jungle rotations, pathing, and understanding of what the win cons of that team were better out of Lucid than they were Hamon Karn. So my point being for you is, I'm curious what you would say. Who really drove the win there for Conspiracy, and maybe if there were some unsung heroes for the side of Ice?
That's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you could take that. I mean, honestly, I'm more inclined to agree with you, because I think that Lucid had a really strong performance on a more supportive style jungler, and I think that's extremely important. So if you're willing to pick that champion, obviously what it's going to stem from is, do you have the trust in your carries? Do you believe that your carries can do what they need to do? And in this instance, especially for the CE team, it seems like the answer is going to be yes here. So as we do see, just a quick little recap of the last game, the bans that came through, of course, CE, taking a quick note, did lose their 2 bans in the phase 1, which of course does shake things up a little bit here, but we do see, yeah, a lot of that Ezreal, that Blitzcrank, and that Jinx, and that Tomcatch, and that bot side, something that you and I were both wondering how much of impact those bot laners were going to have turned out to be pretty much null and void. So a lot of the attention was applied towards mid and at top, and Aatrox did a phenomenal job controlling that side lane, and what I thought, honestly, was going to be a pretty even game there. And really, just to highlight the point that we were just talking about, it really did seem like it was Lucid. Lucid was the one making those impacts. He was the first one up to be able to get that first blood for Gunman, and they played extremely well around that team comp that they drafted. So yeah, game 2, what happens is that Jinx ban going to be coming through. You only get one, as far as I know. Puns come easy. The rules of this, not so much for me. So if there's one ban, I want to see, I think the Jinx, you can elect to take away the Ivern as well. I don't know, you got options, but which one do you pick?
I think it's a hard one. I think in an ideal situation, I think it could be both. I think both were piloted very, very well. I'm almost inclined, and maybe just to shake things up and play devil's advocate, I'm almost inclined to say I might prefer the Ivern ban. Calling back the stats that we viewed right before we went to break, I did notice that the damage output on Ezreal was actually greater than the damage output on Jinx. As an interesting point there. I think Darterwolf in last game had a little bit of an unsung hero game. Obviously was down in CS, and I don't think necessarily played the laning phase perfectly, but I think come fights had an understanding of positioning and the wherewithal enough to make sure that damage on the role with damage literally in the name of it, came out from the Ezreal. So I think maybe in a situation, just from what we've seen out of this last matchup in the bot lane, and obviously it's going to be different because I think we have a sub for is it the ADC? Was that confirmed?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So it is a new substitute, so that adds a whole new layer of complexity to how this draft is going to change. But I do think that maybe Ice had recognized that in the damage graphs. There's a possibility that they say, you know what, maybe if we can get Haman Karn to show up in the bot lane more, right? Maybe play towards our bot side so that we don't hit a CS disadvantage, so that we have an ADC who has shown that they can get damage out from a behind position, or from a bot lane that sort of was looking sort of proactive, right? I think Quantum Force's Blitzcrank was proactive on the hooks, hit some critical ones there. Obviously, when you're behind and you're playing into a team composition that has the wallet gap on you, you're going to make some unfortunate hooks if you hit, the Aatrox at the wrong time, if you hit the Tahm Kench at the wrong time. So, just to play devil's advocate, I think there are options there to possibly say, yeah, maybe we test our mettle against the spot lane. We might have lost in the last game, but, maybe we're going to run it back. So that'll take us right into the draft. We do have sides swapped. Conspiracy, again, does not have the first 2 bans. So we'll go over to red side for the first ban of the game.
That's right. That's exactly it. Yeah, it is just throwing me for a loop, and my little support brain cannot keep up with this stuff here, Swift. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, but we do see the Skarner ban. Not much is gonna change from that side right there. Of course, those 2 bans are gonna be lost from the side of CE. I am curious, right? What do we see now? The first ban makes sense. It's still gonna be the Skarner. Do we index into the Jinx? Do we want to get rid of that? Do we want to get rid of the Ivern? Do we have answers to it? These are the questions I'm wondering, and of course, I'm sure the players are doing the same thing.
It's gonna be the Ivern.
It is.
Wow.
I think that's smart though. It makes sense to me. Ivern's such a difficult champion to track. You even saw them early game 2, placing 2 wards in the top side just to make sure they know exactly where that Ivern is. There's no cheeky things, no cheeky invades or anything. So I like the Ivern ban a lot. Makes things a little more stock standard.
I'm curious to see if now they go for the Jinx, but they don't. They don't go.
Wow.
For the Jinx. They go for the Twitch. Interesting. So now we are getting Dex as a possible Jinx B1 open, which is something we see all the time in competitive play. Like
just grab it.
And it's gonna happen.
That's weird.
It is a very potent B1 pick. They banned the Twitch.
The counter, which the Twitch is a counter into the Jinx traditionally. Now in lane you're not gonna have a see. I like this because Twitch in lane is not the counter into the Jinx. However, the Varus absolutely can be. And of course, with that Varus, you have the option. If you can go that lethal tempo, that more on hit, you can do that. Or of course, you can go the lethality too. So, however CE drafts, obviously, is going to give the window for Darterwolf to be able to make those decisions how he wants to build this Varus out. But we are going to see the Cassante. Love to see it too because Cassante is one of those stock standard pro champs. And the reason why is because it's so difficult to cross map versus him. Good luck diving a Cassante as we do see the Lulu picked.
We do see the Lulu picked. Notably, Cassante was banned last game, phase 2. So maybe this is something that Iceborn realized, hey, the Gragas didn't work out as well. We want stuck on a power pick. It's the Cassante. They grab it early. It will be responded with Gunman's Aatrox again, which we have already seen sort of run house. But notably with, like you said, Turk, the interference and the help of Lucid's Ivern. Now with that off the table, curious to see if this changes things up, and obviously maybe with a more powerhouse pick for Stuck, if this is going to be a different result we see in the top lane. I would like to make a little bit of a clarification just for myself, for you, Turk, and for our viewers. The starter ADC for Iceborn, yes, Iceborn is Koopa. Darter Wolf is a sub that is rostered, right? So that is why we don't see bans lost for the side of Iceborn. So Darter Wolf is still the sub in this game. It will be the same matchup in the bot lane, Dex versus Darter. The sub just being the same sub from last game. So that clarification being made. But interestingly enough, Conspiracy bans both Syndra and Aurora. They don't want to see that matchup. They don't want a salty run back. We want to see something new.
That's right. And those bans, to me, what I see, I was going to say we should expect to see an R4 jungle pick. Now, Fiddlesticks is not something I expected to see. I'm going to be real with you there, Swifty, and we're going to get it here in game number 2.
Listen, I am... Oh,
you like it?
So
what do you think? What do you think?
Hey, okay. This is a high risk, high reward pick.
Yep.
You don't see it a lot in competitive play because of that. Typically, because the pick revolves, its effectiveness is the ultimate. It's game changing. And sorry to take up time from the rest of the draft. I'll lose really quickly. But teams at high elos, especially professional play around vision so well they know where the Fiddlesticks is. They're not going to let themselves walk into that. However, and not to say that these aren't talented players, all of them are. Inevitably vision is not going to be used as effectively as it is in pro play. So I think there's the option for this to be very, very effective. I think it is an incredibly strong pick at the moment. I'm curious to see how Haman builds it, but I think it's very exciting. That's just the jungler and me getting excited. But before we head into game here, do you want to wrap up anything about the rest of the draft that I stole time from?
We did see in the phase two picks there. We did see the Poppy. I'm curious to see how the Poppy ends up working out. I think there's a few champions that the Poppy does really well into, but the Varus you don't get any value. The Orianna you definitely don't get any value. Of course, the Fiddlesticks, even then you're not really blocking any dashes from that. So the Poppy in isolation can make some sense into something like Cassante if that was going top, but of course it's going jungle. So I'm curious to see how that works out here. CE's drafted pretty much a very similar team comp to what they drafted game 1. Of course, the main difference being that Ivern is now taken off the table, so you have that more supportive style with that Poppy, but Poppy really is that front line, that tank that you so much want. I'm curious to see if we're going to be seeing something like Phase Rush. It might be a Phase Rush with Lucid on the Poppy. I'm not so sure. It's been a minute, truthfully, since I've seen a jungle Poppy, so I like that, but I mean,
I think there's
honestly,
two big options. It's that or Harvest.
True.
Two options. There's a possibility to run Electrocute as well. I think people have been testing it out, and I think it's actually somewhat viable just with the added damage, because you can actually sort of get a proc off with the EQ auto combo. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the difference is for Lucid here, now that it's not that powerhouse Ivern pick that we saw game 1.
You and I think we can both agree the real pick that we're going to be keeping our eye on is going to be that Fiddlesticks.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any
Splash,
question.
By the way.
Yeah, the old
art
school.
for Fiddlesticks. I like the throwback.
We're showing our age again.
We are. I'm not old, I swear. Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm excited to see this Fiddlesticks. I have a feeling I'm going to get carried away with the analytical side of this, but I'll be throwing it to you a lot. I'm curious to hear your opinions on it as well. I think that Haman Karn could make or break this game this week. Posture.
What is this?
Oh, here we go. Quantum's going to go for the hook on the Poppy, but doesn't realize that they're waiting in bush. Quantum has to flash out. The knockups come through. That is 2 flash burn for the side of Iceborn, as Gunman and the rest of Conspiracy are going to walk Ice out. That is a Fiddlesticks flash burned at the same time as I believe that was Nautilus. Yes,
that's right.
Nautilus
that's exactly what it was. Okay, well, that is not exactly what you want to see if you're Ice right now. And really, when you see something like this, like a level 1 fiasco, the hardest part, no word of lie, is keeping track of who flashed. Who flashed in that fight right then and there? Was it the Fiddlesticks? Was it Nautilus? Was it the Varus, Orianna, or the Cassante? If they track that, they can make those plays accordingly. And CE did a really good job in Game 1 controlling vision, playing for tempo and the priority when they had it here. So I'm curious to see if they're able to punish either of those champions earlier on here. And of course, especially with that Nautilus flash being burned down, bot side, it's actually going to make the CE bot lane that much safer. It's actually going to give them a lot more windows to be able to play around the range advantage that they do have in this bot lane here.
Absolutely. I think losing a flash on a Fiddlesticks isn't necessarily like the end of the world. Fiddlesticks doesn't necessarily need like flash for early engages. This is a champ that wants to be farming to 6, right? Sort of akin to a Nocturne, then play around vision gaps in the enemy for those ganks. Ganks aren't necessarily they're not impossible on a Fiddlesticks pre-6, but they aren't necessarily the strongest. But a hook is going to come out on Lulu as the follow-up damage is going to come through from Dex's Jinx. Again, nothing more is going to amount to it, just a little bit of a trade in the bot lane. But you know, just bring it back to the sort of quick Fiddlesticks discussion. I noticed Electric comes out, but a hook's going to stop me in the place here as Dex is going to take a little bit more damage. The root's going to come through from Nautilus on the Lulu as Lulu and Jinx are going to both be taken to about a third. A little bit of an unfortunate series of positioning there for Conspiracy. Is going to take them to about half. And yeah, they're going to walk out of that and sit in their tower.
Yeah, and that 2v2 in that bot lane, I mean, you can see that poke Varus, so that's inevitably what we're going to get with that Comet. But when you see both of these bot laners right now taking the trades that they do, you would usually anticipate the double range to be able to get that priority in that bot side early on. Of course, they weren't able to do that, and the punish came through really well from Quantum and Koopa there. Being able to burn, it was one summoner, nothing too crazy, but crucially that health, that condition advantage is going to the side of them, and that's great now because they can start to threaten those all-ins. They're that much stronger around that level 3 mark, and if Dex and Hayasaka aren't able to get that edge earlier on, they're more susceptible to those hooks, and that full clear is just happening right now from the Fiddlesticks here. Yep. Nothing too surprising, is a little bit ahead in tempo of this Poppy. Of course, Poppy does still need to finish those Krugs here, so kind of what we expected to see here. No real invade or anything like that to try to punish the Fiddlesticks flash being down, so we can see that tempo advantage absolutely going to the side of him, and see him just kind of hovering, just being a little sneaky about it. The spot side scuttle should be going to him, though.
Yes, should be going to him. Poppy does not have the same speed. As I like to throw it to the pro comp score we just saw on screen, with giving the advantage to the side of Iceborn with about 57%, which is something that's, you know, from my experience just on Titan Conqueror cast, a little bit higher than normal of a draft disparity here. Apparently Iceborn is in the lead with the draft, but they're going to cut me off as Lulu's not going to take a lot of damage. The hook coming through as well as the root. Fear coming through from the silence on the E, followed up by the damage. The Fiddlesticks W is not quite going to get the kill. The shield comes through. I don't know if the damage was enough to take the health away anyway. Might have been, but that is critically all sums burn for the bot side as Poppy is now here with Victor. Going to re-engage onto the Varus, who doesn't quite have the way out. Both sums have been burned. He's going to try and pick up the kill on the Lulu. Isn't going to get it. The first blood's going to go to that Victor, who made the rotate down with Poppy.
See, he's going to burn 4 flashes in the process, but they're going to get themselves first blood, as we do see this replay here, and I really like to see this. We do see the PIP in the bottom right, nothing crazy happening there, as we do see the hook coming through from Quantum there. You see the forcing from Koopa as well. It's a beautiful polymorph to be able to buy some time. Nice flash from Hayasaka, and right here, I'm convinced Dex is dead, but that shield, I think it makes the difference right there. Koopa takes the extra turret shot, and now you need to get away. They recognize this right here. They see Lucid, they see Feels, but now it's so tricky, and this is all about target selection. It's a beautiful stun here. You can see Feels moving. I wondered if Hayasaka was going to go down to that Q from the Varus, but a beautiful shield comes through and Feels nets up the first blood at the end of the day. Of course,
Oh, we might need a replay on that one. Wow. Gunman taking us back to game 1 Feels there with the solo Bolo in the top lane. Stuck, unfortunately, just not quite having the series that I think
stuck.
Yeah, kind of stuck. A little bit stuck on the Cassante here, as we're going to see what happens. They both enter this, a little bit traded already. The backwards Q into the E is going to knock them off, but that isn't quite the fight. The root's going to come out. Looks like they're just sort of slow trading, whacking each other back and forth, but critically, I think so many summoners, or not summoners, excuse me, abilities are just burned for the Cassante. There wasn't any more damage coming out. So I think good discipline on Aatrox to sort of hold that, understands that the Q3 is there, Q3's into flash, secures the kill, just cleanly played.
Yeah, and the little things make the biggest of differences there. Gunman actually had his cannon up, and you can... I'd love to know how much damage the cannon did in that little fiasco there, but I can guarantee you it was a lot, probably 100 if not more HP actually going down on the side of Stuck there. So little things like that make a big difference. That's why it's so important to play around your wave priority, getting control of those minions here. So kudos to Gunman for being able to pick up yet another kill, and just like in game 1, we could see him already starting to get off to that early lead here in game 2.
Yeah, and without the interference of Lucid this time, just has the confidence, I think, built up from game 1, understands, hey, I think I could take this solo fight here, plays it very well, just understands the intricacies and the micro of 1v1s very, very well there, is able to pick up a kill. They are 1 kill now from the the kills feat for these feats of strength, which we have commented before isn't necessarily a game-changing thing. We can see in the PIP in the bottom left side of the screen that CE has opted to take the grubs. There might be an understanding from Hamad Karn that they might just be uncontested. Again, both Victor and Aatrox have a kill. They have priority. Poppy can sort of do this for free. They're going to look to trade the dragon in response. It is a Cloud Dragon, the first dragon of the game, which, interestingly enough, is actually the dragon that pro players say is their favorite dragon, as we can see in the bottom left of the screen. 5% slow resist and some out of combat MS.
Yeah, makes the biggest of differences, especially if you get a couple of those stacked right up. Not too surprised at all. Not one bit there. And I like that. I mean, at the end of the day, that was really just proper jungle tracking with the right wards. I mean, we just saw the Fiddlesticks in that try, and of course at that point Lucid has free agency to be able to take those top side grubs, and I think this is really smart by him too. Right now you can actually see that Poppy indexing as he moves in towards that top side. Stuck is starting to get a little low, so the threat of a dive is possible. However, I like this answer too from Haman. We could see him moving up towards the top side. I wonder if both of these junglers are going to end up fighting on the Krugs here, but of course the HP advantage, no question, going to Gunman.
Ooh, really good unstoppable sort of stall there, preventing that last Q from getting pretty severe damage off on Stuck, which would put Stuck dangerously at low health there and in critical position for a dive. We're going to see if this is going to come out anyway. Poppy is moving in the area, and Gunman is posturing.
Oh.
I think Karn is now figuring out what's going on. Is level 6, and they don't have vision. Be careful there. Lucid, you don't know how Fiddlesticks works. You can't lose vision of the Fiddlesticks. Gunman is now running for their life, but is going to pop the ultimate. There is no more cooldowns left and abilities for Fiddlesticks to actually take Gunman out, so is going to trade the ultimate in the Aatrox, but they get out up a kill, and with a Cassante that did not get dove.
So many really well, and I'm so glad we get a replay of this too. Crucially here, we're going to see Fiddlesticks get his 6. That's important, but pay attention to Stuck here. As this dive's going to come through, Lucid is spotted. Watch this buffer though. Beautiful right there, and that buys so much time. Also that space too, so as Haman, you can see him burning that flash right there. He's looking for more, but we're going to get back into the fight.
Oh, ultimate, the knockup coming out. Oh, you are a dead Lulu. What a great start, a hook into a root on the Jinx, followed up by the ultimate knockup from Nautilus, followed up by the execute arrow, the sniper arrow out of Varus there to pick up the kill on Hayasaki's Lulu.
This is tricky. This is tricky now, right? Because if you're not winning this 2v2 bot side, it's going to take a long time for you to scale. Of course, this gives options for Quantum to do exactly what he's doing right here. This is a beautiful roam.
Oh, both mid laners are low. Flash has to be burned on OTF,
Beautiful.
but you're too low, Victor. You're just going to get solo boloed by the Nautilus. Really, really well played there. Great tempo sort of playing there from Quantum. Just understands the positioning that Nautilus, has made the bot side play. There's nothing left to do on with Varus. Varus is recalling. We're going to get a replay here. The hook and the root, like I said, comes out before. The Nautilus is going to get the ultimate. Wow. Both ultis burned. For both, I believe that's Varus. Yep, Varus ultimate burned as well as the knockup from Nautilus. And then, that's all she wrote in the mid lane.
Yeah, and just that rotation, it's so nice. The ultimate coming down on Lulu definitely caught Hayasaka off guard there and ended up, obviously, at the end of the day, resulting in his death. But crucially, too, it's not even just about that play bot side. You win the 2v2, but then you also rotate towards the mid lane. You end up killing Fields, and you also burn... No, you don't burn. You burn the TP, I guess, in the process, but you actually push the wave in there. So once you push the wave, OTF is that much safer now. So things are looking really good here from the side of Ice. Of course, CE earlier on got those 2 kills to really start bolstering what we anticipated as, once again, a really strong early game, but Ice has definitely answered here in Game 2.
Absolutely. It's sort of what you got to do, right? In a game 2, we've all been down a game in this series for anyone who has played competitive and coordinated League of Legends before. It's game 2s that really can set the pace for whether or not you've got the stuff, got the grit, right? Can you pick yourself up by your bootstraps? Can you play to your win cons and understand, hey, everyone loses games, right? And they're doing that here. They've made some great answers. They had a little bit of an unfortunate early play in the bot lane, losing the Varus to the Victor First Blood, losing the solo bolo Aatrox into Cassante matchup. But yeah, they're able to respond well. It's now 2-3 kills. However, CE, I believe in last game as well, if I'm not mistaken, placed a lot of priority on grubs. Or I might be having that backwards, and I'm sure someone will correct me.
I think Ice ended up doing that. So I think we've actually seen
blue side.
That's right. Blue side both games have put a lot of priority on those top side grubs there, and I mean that's pretty nice too. And at this point, you've also secured all 6, so that's great. You don't have any real threat on these turrets yet. If I'm not mistaken, not a single plate has been taken down on the side of CE, but of course that opens up a lot more options as the game progresses. The enemy team's caught out once. If you get mid proud, you can run it right down their throat. Mid tier 1, tier 2. Beautiful though.
New ultimates coming out, but not going to amount to anything as Lucid is going to create some space. The E and Flash are coming out from Poppy.
Oh, wow.
As we're going to get a little bit of a split fight. That is a stunned Fiddlesticks coming up, but the Fear's going to come out. The Drain is going to keep him a little bit healthy for now, but Lucid is about at half health, as is Haman Karn, but feels is not quite healthy enough to finish this fight.
We see some more action there. The
A lot of
PIP in the
stuff
bottom
there.
left. The reset from Jinx. Oh, that's... What?
Oh.
What?
Before I can even
my
see what's
goodness.
going on in the tiny screen, I'm sure we'll be getting a replay for our viewers there. But wow, that was a pretty split and spread out fight. I actually didn't even see the Orianna dropping there. As we're going to get a little bit of a replay here. The hook's going to land on Hayasaki's Lulu. That is ultimate coming out. That is the full combo coming out from Nautilus Lulu. But there is the power of Lulu, is able to buy a lot of time. Dex has now gotten a lot of damage off just from these autos. Has the Jinx damage, is going to get the reset here, even though Lulu drops on Nautilus. But now you're a Jinx that's fully reset, but the execute damage from the Varus picks it up. Well played by Darter Wolf there to understand this is the only way I can get this kill as a trade. It is a 2 for 2 in the bot side. Notably, as I said right before that, we did lose Orianna. I believe Poppy was able to pick up that kill, if I'm not mistaken. It was probably either the Blackfire torch or the Victor. No, Victor already had a kill from the beginning of the game. Wow, a lot going on there, Turk.
Yeah, that was a pretty intense sequence there with all the mid pressure being applied, and of course that 2v2 in that bot lane, and that's pretty nice. I mean, at the end of the day, you almost got to wonder if that favors Dex, and I'd argue it does, especially with the Yuntels completed there. So you could see that while the Jinx isn't quite nearly online yet, you also have that Lulu to facilitate that Jinx. So more than likely, you're going to really start to hit your spike around those two items, and with that call in your inventory, 46 more CS there, of course you're going to be able to unlock that. That's an extra kill in your pocket. So CE and Ice both responding as much as they can, doing a good job. But right now, as much as what we thought the early advantages were going to one side or the other, it seems like as we move into this mid game, it's neck and neck.
It is neck and neck, and that's sort of the games you really like to see, right? It comes down to those pivotal moments, those hype moments. So I'm really looking forward to what these teams can do with the, the sort of setup they've made for themselves. Also, notably, I'm seeing here now, my mistake earlier, and my apologies, Koopa. This is not Darter Wolf. Koopa, the starter for Iceborn, has come back into this game. So this is a new ADC. Apologies to our viewers and to my, to Turk.
We're trolling. We're trolling.
We're trolling. Yes,
Oh
I believe
my
it said that in draft. No harm, no foul. But yes, this is Koopa. This is a new matchup. Koopa, the starter for Iceborn, is trying to make a statement here in game 2. Their first game of the night, as they're sort of just holding priority here. But Poppy is in the area. Yep, the Varus ultimate is going to have to come out, and the hook is going to have to buy a little bit of space, but the stun from the Poppy is too much. The knockup comes through. It's a lot of damage, but there is a lot of return damage coming out of the Varus, and Jinx is going to go down critically. The ultimate's canceled from the Cassante Unstoppable. That is going to be Poppy down, and Jinx down. The teleport is expended from both the Victor and the Cassante. Wow, what an interesting turn of events there, Turk.
That's a great fight there coming in from Ice. It's a good response. Crucially, though, CE on this cross map is going to net that first brick, so that's really healthy for them. Of course, Gunman's going to be able to continue. He's going to flash right now. We see this all in, and he's fishing. It's so close in that PIP, but you could just tell Orianna's going to be able to get away with things there, and OTF has to be super scared. There's no doubt about it at all. But yeah, that was a really interesting fight that we saw towards that bot side, and it was a good disengage initially there from Koopa and Quantum, just to buy so much time there. We saw Lucid coming in, but the Varus ult, I believe it's a corrupting chains. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong.
It is
that
corrupting chains.
That ends up coming through. That buys so much time. Of course, you saw that Nautilus hook onto the wall to get that gap closed. The Nautilus ult came through, and then by that time, you created so much space. Your Q is back up, and you land the hook on Dex, and that's a kill for you. And that's a really good sequence there coming in from Ice overall.
Yeah, I really like the micro play, heads up play from Stuck to channel the Unstoppable as the Poppy ultimate is coming out. It's able to pick up that kill. Oh, watch out, Fiddlesticks effigy. Watch out. Poppy stunned you. JK, it's an effigy. It's a ward. Nothing.
Where is Fiddlesticks? Is he top? Is he bot? Where
my
is he?
thing on Fiddlesticks is just standing still and seeing if someone...
Yeah, that's it, eh? That's in my games. It's in my
Oh, in the PIP TP in the bot lane. Cassante has taken down Victor there in the 1v1. Stuck now, you know, if I can't take down Gunman and the Aatrox, I'm going to take down Fields on that Victor. Is able to pick up the solo bolo. A little bit of a morale boost for Stuck, who has had a little bit of a rough time in game 1 and a little bit into game 2 here. But the Nautilus hook's going to come through on the Lulu again. That is a stunned up Lulu. However, there's no damage follow-up as so much space is created. The Fiddlesticks ultimate's going to come out. We are now in a split fight as Aatrox is going to go down. Too much damage coming out of Koopas on the Varus here. But now we have resets on the Jinx. Nautilus is taken to about half. However, Fiddlesticks is in the back line, as is Poppy. The ultimate from Orianna coming out. The damage is going to clean up that Poppy. That is a 2-for-0 for the side of Iceborn. Is now maybe Iceborn is starting to pick up the steam here and put themselves in a driving position, Turk.
That's what it seems like. CE is going to net the objective. They do have the Rift Herald in the pocket of Lucid, so that's a little bit of a saving grace. But yeah, ultimately you're going to give up 2 more kills here. And that's just a good collapse coming in from Ice. You do see another hook.
Another hook coming out. That is so much damage now on this Varus. But there's even more from the Victor. Super Mega Death Rocket is not going to be able to take the shielded Ori down. But wow, that was a lot of damage. Full combo coming out from Jinx, and I'm not sure where else that damage came from. It's really only a faded ashes.
Honestly, it was a turret. It was a turret. The turret was still up. I think he tanked 2, if not 3 turret shots in the process. And Quantum just overforced. That's right. The turret's still up right now.
My apologies.
It seemed like a bit of a split call. It not even seemed. It just clearly was. I mean, if you're not going to be able to net that tier 1, and crucially too, the tier 1 mid turret is so important. It allows you to get your vision line that much deeper, and I'm glad we get to see a replay here. Little things like this make the biggest of differences here. As we do see just the initial contest, I like to see this. Of course, we did see that Rift Hero going down. This is right after that 2-for-0. But now we're going to start to fish. Right, we need to play for one call though. Is it the turret? Or is it the dive? Do we look for the kill on Fields? And it looks like we're going to fish right here. And as soon as this hook comes through, we need to make the decision. Everybody needs to hit, full hit. And unfortunately, you can see not all the members can. And this is exactly what's going to happen. Quantum's just going to get picked up. Now, it's definitely by no means the end of the world. But of course, you don't want to give little windows like this away to a team like CE.
Absolutely. We've seen little windows given to CE in game 1, and CE turned that into a 24-3, quite honestly, stomp of a game.
Yeah.
However, you know, to Iceborn's credit, they have really picked up their footing this game. Victor's going to look to get a little bit of positioning. Hook is not going to land there. They're just going to fight for control of this river here as we move into this dragon take. But yeah, Iceborn is in a position where they are not giving up too much. They were in the lead. They still technically are in the lead here. But the dragon is going to be started up by
Keep an eye on Fiddle.
The fight's going to come out. There is the Lulu ultimate, but too much damage is coming through. There's also too much damage on Lucid there, as now this is 2 members fallen for the side of Conspiracy. Quantum's going to land that hook. We're going to see a dead Lulu. We're going to see a dead Jinx. It is 1 member left. Fields cannot do anything. That is a clean 4-for-0 for the side of Iceborn, and they took the words out of my mouth before I could say it, Turk.
Yeah, they did such a good job off that too, and hopefully we do get a bit of a replay. I'm a little spoiled right now. Thank you. This is great. Pay attention to the fiddlesticks right now. This is how important vision control is. Of course, you can see that pink in that banana bush right now. Beautiful toggle here that we get to, and this is really what you want to pay attention to. This isn't even 2 points in all, by the way, for this fiddle. Looks like he is going to get spotted briefly. I think that might have been OTF there, but at this point right now, this is what we're looking for, right? Where is Fiddlesticks? Where is Fiddle? Trying to take this fight, knowing that he's in the area with that ultimate available is so tricky, especially when you have a front line like this, and that's exactly what happens here. Nice Fiddle ult, layers into the shockwave, of course we see Stuck going into the back lane here, and how do you deal with this right now? Cassante is just so strong, and early game, we saw Gunman do a really good job being able to put him behind, but that solo kill bot side against Fields seems like it's really put him over the edge.
Yeah, and just a really excellently executed, quite an alliterative statement, excellently executed fight there. And I'm glad that we are getting to see what Fiddlesticks can do. Why do I hear shaking? Do you hear shaking?
I don't. Maybe there's an earthquake happening.
Maybe there's an earthquake. Anyway, just
well, we'll figure that out later.
We'll be fine. We'll be right back. I was like, what is that? I thought that was some audio of the Fiddlesticks effigy tripping out or something like that. But anyway, back to your regularly scheduled casting on Titan Conqueror here. I'm glad we got to see a Fiddlesticks ult used effectively. That's the power
Yes.
knowing what vision can do, or lack thereof for the enemy team, right? With a Fiddlesticks. It is one of the highest damage abilities in the game, just base damage and scaling wise, as well as having a massive AoE fear for a not insignificant duration. And literally, Gunman can't play the game off of that ultimate, as we might be
Oh,
seeing.
This
We
is a
might be
good
seeing it
TP from
again here.
Fields. Very smart from him. I was
Sniffed
wondering
it
if he
out.
knew, and it looked like, yeah, that's right. His spidey senses were tingling. This is a good rotation here from Ice, but crucially, they're actually down a little bit of tempo right now. CE also has that rift here, so this is a really good decision here from CE to be able to counteract this here as we do see that crash. More than likely, this tier 2 is going down as well. It just doesn't look like there's anybody in the area who can deal with this. The backs are going to be late. We could probably even see a third crash right here. More than likely, that tier 3 isn't going down. Oh, no, that's so sad, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So for our viewers, always when you enter, as I might be get cut off here. Oh, Lucid, you're in a bad spot. You've been ultimate casted by the Varus, and you've been rooted twice now. And maybe Executor's gonna try and get the stun off, but there are 4 members for the side.
Wow. Okay, CE, really good response. Unfortunately, bit off a bit more than you could chew at the end of it. You almost get that tier 3 for your trouble, so that's not too bad. You get a little bit of damage on this mid tier 1, but Ice is able to answer that there. And I mean, that's a pretty good play. You burn Lucid's flash in the process too, off of his overextension. So Ice
Sure.
at least able to answer a little bit, but I really like to see that from CE. That actually equalizes the amount of turrets down for both teams.
Absolutely, and keeps that gold gap, more in a more manageable location, right? We have a 2K gold lead for Iceborn here up on Conspiracy. And the point before we were engaged upon after that flubbed Rift play I was making is for our viewers at home. If you enter the Rift Herald, always like right click as if you're moving to where you want to be moving the Rift Herald. That'll stop you from doing stuff like that, because the Rift Herald has a tendency to go in the direction that you were facing when you entered it if you do not start right click spamming. That's just a little tidbit, a little insider tip here on the Titan cast for Conqueror this week. But unfortunately, I don't think Lucid was familiar with this little interaction, and drives what's the name of the Rift Herald? Does it have a name?
I've always just called it Shelly.
Shelly.
Yeah,
Shelly.
I've always
Shelly.
just called Shelly.
Drive Shelly into a wall. My brand new.
Yeah,
My brand new 2025 Shelly driven into a wall.
Yeah, hit the e-brake a little too soon there on
Yeah.
Shelly for sure. Lucid did, and I mean, it's not the end of the world, of course, but you don't really want to be giving up too many of those kills. Something at this point right now, we're 23 minutes in. Of course, we do see at this point right now 40 seconds on that dragon. This is an extremely important timer for CE, so I like to see that they're playing as much as they can through this bot side river. They're trying to play through mid-prio. I love to see it. Ice now, you also have the option at this point, having taken all those objectives earlier on. You don't need to contest this dragon. You can play hard for mid priority. You could swing towards top, maybe look for a tier 2, invade topside camps. You have options. Of course, we do see Atacon in that PIP still available, but if I had to guess, I think here we go. Never mind.
Hamon Karn's ultimate's going to come out, and there's so much damage exclusively from the ultimate out of Fiddlesticks, what I believe is called Crow Storm, as I'm now remembering.
This is their timer right now. Ice needs to move in and take this. 2 members we see from CE are resetting. I wonder at this point, do not give the flip to Lucid. You cannot afford this.
Absolutely. They want to be taking the fight if Lucid appears anywhere in here. And we're going to see them make this call. They understand it. Poppy W is going to stop anyone from coming out. That is a great Victor damage and stun root up coming from them. As we're now going to see Gunman drop for Hamon Karn here. Lucid is unfortunately going to go down, though. A great play out of Conspiracy is able to take the jungler off the map, but critically they lose their top laner and their jungler. They're probably going to lose the soul here as the execute comes through from the Victor, but ultimate out of step coming through, and that's a lot of Cassante damage as the hook is going to land. Oh no, and it falls apart. Dex's Jinx is caught unawares and takes that hook, gets CC'd, gets deleted, Turk.
Swifty from bad to worse, and it's so tragic. Almost CE's getting the game 1 treatment that they so much as gave to Ice. So we could see a lot of agency here now coming through. Of course, when you have that soul completed, this is where things really start to add up for you here. But this is of course going to be a 5v3 with 2 of those members having to reset earlier on. This is actually a pretty dang good fight. I gotta hand it to them too. Considering it's the 3 members, it looked fairly close, but we do see this knockback coming through from the Cassandre. Look at this grab field.
CC.
Look at how much
Yeah.
damage is coming through. If you had those 2 other members, of course you don't, but if you did, this is most certainly a one fight. It's got to be. But of course the cleanup's going to come through there, and Lucid's going to fall on the back end of it, and you almost know at that point that this soul is not for you. So feels while he tries to fish, and he does what he can. Unfortunately, you got to cut your losses when they're there, and Stuck has just done such a good job here, night and day from game 1 to game 2. You can see how much pressure he's exerting. His beautiful hook comes in from Quantum once again there, and that just nets so many kills. And as we do look in transition back into the game, you love to see this from Ice too, right? They play around this mid priority, and look where all of their wards are now set up, Swifty. It's all top. They control everything there.
And they notably have the 2 objectives, 2 very powerful objectives on the top side of the map here. Baron is up, and it is, in my opinion, takeable by the side of Iceborn, as is Otacon. That is a permanent buff. This is Ruinous Otacon. It is going to give you 25% increase effects, if I'm not mistaken, on all of your epic monster buffs, on top of getting you the adaptive force and experience from any blood petals that you do pick up. But yeah, I was going to say, I almost said feels bad, man, to be feels. In that last situation there.
It does feel bad.
Yeah, tries to find space, tries to find a way to maybe get a steal, maybe buy some time for a team to show up on the back end of that fight. But notably, Fiddlesticks can just... excuse me, this isn't one of the cases there, as I'm realizing now Fiddlesticks was dead, but in a situation where you have lost a fight there, say the Fiddlesticks is up, it's a Fiddlesticks. The W drain is like just so strong on retaking objectives there. But then again, I think their team was just so healthy, the rest of the members, right? The members that they hadn't lost, that there is no real threat from the Victor there to come back in. So a little bit of a misread, in my opinion, as they're sort of just posturing, I think, for a fight, if I'm not mistaken, Turk, over taking the actual objective straight up.
Both teams are jockeying around, but honestly, it almost feels like a bit of fake threat right now. And the reason why I say that is I love to see lethality Varus. The only issue is your neutral objective takes. Now, Fiddlestick should be able to make quite a bit of damage up for this. Of course, we're going to see this being started right now, but lethality Varus does not do a lot of damage to this Baron. But we do see CE, we see the Lulu right now bot side. Of course, we see another member bot. 2 members, as we do see that shutdown in the PIP. The Jinxar is coming through, unfortunately. Going to be a little early, and of course, this Baron is going to be going down. What does CE get on the back end? Looks like we're going to see that TP coming in through mid. Run it right down there if they can. Hopefully they can equalize by getting that tier 1. But of course, this Fiddlesticks ult is still available.
Yes, it is still available, and Fiddlesticks is looking for positioning here, notably, as the hook is going to land on Fields' Victor. The knockup's going to happen. The Lulu ultimate and the flash going to have to be used on the Poppy, but Haman Karn's ult is coming over the backside. Knocked out of the fight. None of the damage is going to get off, as Victor damage is popping off here. All members are critically low. Gunman, you're taking a lot of damage there. You don't have the sustain yet to be able to heal through that.
What?
Excuse me. What was that? That was
illegal.
Wild.
That's illegal, man.
Who did that? I don't even know who did that. Man,
you gotta try and
replay here as production's queuing that up for us, but that was a crazy fight. Very, very flip-floppy. A beautiful Fiddlesticks ult followed by a beautiful Poppy ult there. We're gonna get a replay here. Turk, guide me through this one.
We can see how it's all about this Fiddlesticks positioning, and as he says hello, he's going to get heated very quickly, and he's going to have to say goodbye, but the fight has already started here, and it's so difficult. That shockwave comes through here. As we do see the PIP here, we can see a bit of maybe an overextension as a hook does land, but this fight is so well executed here, from what I can tell from Quantum especially here, buying so much time, being able to force consistent fights with just hooks, ultimates landing, and it looks like we are seeing more fighting happen towards bot. Very chaotic games with people.
Absolutely, that damage there at the end is I think it's starting to be indicative of the wallet differential. I'd like to direct the viewers towards the scoreboard at the bottom of the screen. This is a 10, 2, and 10 Varus. That is Serpent's Fang, Edge of Night, Cyrilda's Grudge, and a fully stacked Mana Immune, which I believe at this point is called Mirror Mana. Yeah, it's just so much damage. So that has to be a Varus auto, I believe, at the end there, just absolutely chunking right through the no defenses there for conspiracy. As now we're getting posturing on the top side. We don't have the Baron up anymore. Elder Dragon is spawning. That is something to take note of. We have Otacon on one side of the map and in 40 seconds Elder on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, this is a great little toggle that we could see on the bottom side of our screen. Pay attention to the gold differentials. Aatrox to Cassante. Aatrox is actually up right now. Poppy to Fiddlesticks, very even. The discrepancies truly are on the carries, but more important, it's on Koopa. Look at the gold discrepancy there, sitting at about 3.5k alone by himself. So how much damage? How important is this Varus? Well, it's everything right now. And of course, so is this Elder.
Yes, this Elder can be make or break probably for both teams. A lot of these fights have been roller coasters, back and forth. With the added execute of Elder, it's entirely possible the Conspiracy, who might have lost a previous fight, can take this one. Gunman is going to sidestep the hook out of Nautilus. Great job there. Does not want to eat that. That could certainly spell doom for the side of Conspiracy here, as both teams are just slowly posturing around this Baron until something breaks out.
Look at how cheeky Holman is too on this Fiddlestick. Keep an eye on him. He is your guy to watch. Both teams are playing entirely around the positioning of this Fiddlesticks. And right now it seems like CE doesn't know, but you can see that ward. He's most certainly spotted now here. Gunman recognizes this. It's a beautiful ward to be able to spot that now. And of course the battle lines are going to get redrawn here as we do see an entrance to River from this top side. The Poppy R channel, but cancelled.
Is going to be cancelled. The knockup's not going to do much. His Fiddlesticks ult is coming over the Dragon Pit. That is so many members taking too much damage on the backline. Gunman, you are alone. You're going to try and take out OTF, but the Orianna ultimate is going to buy enough time for herself to kill Aatrox and Gunman. Unfortunate 3-0 as looks like Iceborn is going to try and make this one a GG, Turk.
It's got to be game right now, right? It's got to be. I mean, it's a 2v5. There's a chance, right? But I don't know if I want to be a betting man on that.
Yeah,
you see this force right now. It's scary, man.
So many ways to just stop this Jinx from playing the video game, and it's literally just a Jinx Lulu. And we don't have a flash on the Jinx. We do have an ultimate, a flash, and an exhaust, but this is 5 members playing into 2. This is very hard to do much on. We're going to see if they can make the miracle play here as Ice is going to go for it. That's a Cassante ultimate. All right. But the turrets are going down. It may not be the end of the world, but Lulu is up in time. The ultimate comes out and maybe stuck just made his team stuck in this game for an extra 5 minutes.
Oh, the slow chase can happen right now. If CE recognizes this is beautiful. That blue ward's coming, and we see the TP. It's a little shallow, not many options, but of course we see Fields behind right now. Nice hook, though.
Oh, everyone's very low. A lot of damage came out on that Victor, but notably, Varus is too low. Koopa goes down. OTF goes down. Uh-oh, Homo goes down. Quantum goes down. Guys, what is going on?
Is that wait?
They might look for the end here. They're pinging the tier 2 mid lane tower. Nobody has HP from that last fight, so we're going to get a replay here.
This is it's so brutal. It's so brutal. It's an overextension. It is right here. Look at that, and he actually lands inside the fountain there. As we see in our PIP right now, this tier 3 is going down. You can't tell the death timers, but they're most certainly long at this point. The inhibitor as well, and we got 18 seconds. Stuck is up.
Stuck, you owe it to your team here. Here's the play, the Cassante dash. He's going to be taking a half already. There's too much damage. Dex has too much space off of the reset and get excited passive from the inhib going down. This turret goes down. Jinx gets excited. This turret goes down. Jinx is still excited.
It's over.
Inhibitor is going to go down. Koopa, you have about half a second to make anything happen. It's not going to be enough, or is it? I don't know. I do know. And Conspiracy makes the comeback. What a wild few minutes, Turk.
I got sweaty palms, dude. I got sweaty palms.
I'm nervous. My anxiety is acting up after that one. Unreal. Congratulations to Conspiracy Esports for first and foremost. Buys enough time. Unfortunate for Iceborn here, Turk, as they really, quite frankly, should have won this game, and it is one little misplay, misunderstanding of how that ultimate is going to take you into that tower. Critically is Lucid on the Poppy, but the ultimate comes up. And that's going to be all she wrote for the night, unfortunately. But walk me through those last few minutes.
Oh, there's so much stuff to be able to take away from that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a misjudge, and
it is.
The decision is, if we're going to commit to end the game right there, the death timers are 40 seconds plus on the majority of members, no matter who dies. So if we're going to make that play, we need to full commit. And while everything looked so good from Ice there and from Stuck too, just seemed like a bit of a misplay there, right? We see the R, and I like the idea. The idea is to take the Jinx away to be able to get enough space, get enough time to be able to take those turrets down without a contest. The only issue is he unfortunately ults himself into the fountain. which is something I
Yeah.
didn't expect to see, but he did. And as soon as he did, he ended up getting burned down, and that's where that slow chase came in, and that's really the most important thing there. So it seems like once you give CE an inch, they'll take a mile. So you saw all those blues being placed as the slow chase was happening mid. Of course, the TP came down from both solos. They collapsed. They found those kills, and with those 40+ second death timers, that pretty much matches it. It's done and dusted.
Yeah, it is. As the game goes on, it becomes increasingly more detrimental to make mistakes, right? Like you said, with death timers being that long, as we're going to get a little bit of a glimpse here at the damage graphs. It's a feels bad moment for me in particular. We've been talking about the Fiddlesticks and Hammond the whole game, really playing around those ultimates so very well, and it's just one unfortunate misstep that spells doom
Yep.
here. I would like to shout out Iceborn
Oh, for
and
sure.
any
For sure.
fans. Clearly an excellently played game too, and it's one small thing in a very tightly contested game,
Yeah.
which I think certainly would have gone to a game 3. These clearly, to me, are two teams that deserve to be in playoffs. I'd like to note for all of our viewers, these two teams are now both 3-2, which to me spells excitement for any future playoff matchups between these two teams. And so, yeah, congratulations again to Conspiracy. Iceborn, I think, has we have a lot to look forward to seeing them in playoffs. But is there anything more to say before we sign off for the night?
I'll be honest, I did not anticipate that game to go in the way that it did. And the fact that it did just makes it so much better for you. Makes it so much better for me and for everybody else watching. Unfortunately, for the losing team, that sucks. Honestly, I've been there myself. So, as much pain as you feel, I can promise you I felt the same thing. So, nevertheless, League, especially when it comes to a split like this, it's not a sprint, it's a jog. That's what it's all about. It's about keeping your pace, making sure that you're winded as you move forwards into week 6, week 7. Of course, as you highlighted, it's now 3-2 for both of these teams. So that is a pretty nice roster, not roster, but position shakeup potential, especially with that head-to-head going in the favor of Iceborn.
Yeah. Well, Conspiracy now, technically, right? Conspiracy's 2.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Apologies.
They both
Yes,
have
apologies.
CE in their
Oh,
name.
I'm trolling.
So
Trolling.
no, you're not trolling. No worries. I did that a few times, saying the wrong team name. For our viewers, you can find that as Easter egg. Before we wrap up for the night, I would like to shout out our new Titan Esports merch. I know my camera's a little bit pixelated. I think my whatchamacallit, my internet. But Titan Esports merch, you can check it out. You can see the link in front of you, fofesports.com/Titan. I've picked up the boat hat. I've picked up a t-shirt. The one I'm wearing right now, this nice sweater pullover, Titan Esports. There's really cool quality stuff on there. If you want to support Titan and all that we are doing here, support these teams, support the production team, support the organization and tournament as a whole, head on over. It is awesome stuff over there, and then you can look like me. You can rep all this cool, dope as heck gear. But
it looks great. It looks good on you. It looks good on you, I must say.
Thank you. I'm gonna wear all my Titan stuff for the rest of these casts. But that's gonna wrap it up for the night. We have a 2-0 for the side of Conspiracy. Things are shaking up. Things are getting even spicier as we head into playoffs for Titan Esports Conqueror Winter 2025. Again, my name is Swifty. Thank you for bearing with me on my first ever play-by-play cast. I've been joined by Turk. Thank you so much for stepping in, Turk. It was absolutely a pleasure. I really hope we see you on here more. Excellently done. I really appreciated your help here.
No worries. It was a pleasure to be able to do it. And I said it a few times. I'll say it one more time. I now feel like a spoiled brat. So anytime that I go and do another cast, I'm going to be very upset when I don't see replays and beautiful transitions and split screens. So it was fun to be able to cast. Yeah, it's hard to argue, isn't it?
To our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. As always, we will see you next week. I believe production might be yelling in my ear. Is there one tomorrow? Immortal? I think there is. Yeah, check in Immortal tomorrow. That's M600 cap. But that's all we got for tonight. I'm Swifty. That's Turk. This is Titan. Have a good one.
See you later.